Welcome to the Employer Branding Show, interviews with employer branding and recruitment practitioners to help you kickstart your own hiring efforts. Today, we are very lucky to be joined by Audree Hall. Audree is the Talent Brand Attraction Program Manager at Coupa Software, a cloud platform for business spend management, or BSM, and they empower companies around the world with visibility and control that they need to spend smarter and safer. Great to have you on the Employer Branding Show today, Audree.
Thank you so much for your invitation. I'm delighted to be here.
Fantastic. So, for those of us who don't know who you are and what you do as the Talent Brand Attraction Program Manager at Coupa Software, who are you and what do you do?
Well, actually, I am the Talent Brand Manager, as you said, and I'm actually new to the employer brand space. My career, I've been in the education sector, most of my career, customer care, event planning, social media, content marketing, and COVID and an amazing mentor encouraged a pivot for me. And 2 years ago, I landed in talent and employer brand in the tech industry, most recently here at Coupa. I absolutely love taking my digital marketing chops and designing campaigns around company culture, both inside, outside the company, sharing and highlighting company differentiators, using language that is compelling but real and humanizing, a very big piece of who I am. I believe that employees can share on their social networks, but I want it to be less about company prescribed content, but more about professional networking, market content, professional development, and a place where you can make friends, which is what has happened with me on LinkedIn. So really an enjoyable new space for me to be in at Coupa.
That's awesome. It's incredible how the employer branding space, almost everybody I've spoken to has come at it from a slightly different trajectory in their career. I've been a recruiter for 20 years, and I've done a little bit of social media and a bit of sales, and now I'm in the kind of employer branding space. Other people have been pure play marketeers that have kind of worked into that space, and there's obviously some other kind of Venn diagrams of recruitment and marketing and sales where people have ended up here. So it's interesting to hear where you've come from and how you've done that. So where we met online via LinkedIn was through the work that you were sharing at Coupa Software, which I love what you're doing. I can see what you're doing all the time in your posts. What's your approach to starting employer branding at where you are at the moment?
So at Coupa, what I decided was first to do a 30, 60, and 90-day plan and set objectives and strategies, sort of what I was thinking we needed, and then took the process of moving with leadership with those strategies and objectives in mind and met with them, leadership as well as people across the company, to really discover what their mission, vision, and values were and what it is they wanted to share. What differentiators did they see here at Coupa, and how they wanted to build and measure the perception of Coupa on an employer brand level. How do we differentiate ourselves? I really wanted to hear their opinions. That's vital to how I build a framework, and I wanted to hear what the challenges were. The best part, I think, and the funniest part in talking with leadership as well as my peers across the company was, we've been waiting for 6 years for you. And I sort of chuckled because I feel like this space is still new. It reminds me of what social media was when Twitter first started. I'm going to not age myself, but I was there. And to hear that story, like we've been waiting for 6 years, was really sort of delightful. And I got it because there's some really amazing things happening inside of Coupa that employees, I can't wait for them to share. And we've already started that. And so that's where I started. Was I first met with them. What do you want to hear? What do you want to share? What is it that makes this place different? How do you measure into the mission, vision, and values here at Coupa? That was it sounds trite, and I don't mean to sound that way, but it's a beautiful place to start because the stories were really impactful on me as a new employee, starting my onboarding, meeting people across the way. That was really made a really big impact on me and how I would then be sharing stories. And that's where that new hire campaign started that you saw, the first round of videos. That started from those conversations. I met with people who've been here a while who've seen the change going from private to public. But consistently the message was those values drive them, and the onboarding and truly their experiences as a new hire were extraordinary, and I felt we needed to share those. So that's how you and I connected on LinkedIn. And I think I told you, typically our video studios team who records all of the videos, they get 4 to 6 people who volunteer, and then you always get the drop-off rate. We had 100 new hires volunteer for those videos. And we still have people asking what we thought was going to be 30 days of content, like one post a week, is now going to be scheduled out through the end of the year. So extraordinary efforts by everybody to really want to share the brand on a global level.
Those numbers are fantastic. What just to take a step back a little bit here, because not all companies have an employer branding specialist in-house. What made the decision for the company, for Coupa Software, to move from not having someone? They've obviously highlighted that they needed you 6 years ago, but where did they go from not having one to actually taking someone on and starting telling these stories?
I think you just actually answered it in a way, is that they didn't have, the stories are inside. We have an amazing employee internal comms, the intranet that is used, those stories are being shared internally, but they really didn't have that externally. Our social networks have been used for product and messaging around sales and events, but none of that was being shared externally. And when they realized they were well known as a company, right? We have had an extraordinary last couple of years. Even during COVID, business spend management has been something everyone's looking at, right? And so we've had extraordinary several years. The growth is amazing. But how do we hire to keep up with that growth? You need that employer brand person out there messaging, sharing it on a global level. We're hiring all over. So who is that person and how do you get that out there? They realized that right away. I had also worked with my manager, my current manager, my supporting manager previously. So it's been a nice, easy transition into stepping into a different management style. I didn't have to do that and be able to really day one take my job experience and go and start running.
Fantastic. And how many roles, I know numbers might change all the time, but typically how many roles are Coupa looking to hire maybe this year?
I think if I remember correctly, we're at 133 a month, 140 a month. We're set to continue to hire through the end of the year, and with forecasts moving the same, from what I understand. It's quite extraordinary.
So looking at that kind of volume, so like at least 1,000 new hires a year. So building out the employer brand is an absolute necessity there, and it's an interesting adage that they think that they where were you for 6 years? Because I often say to people, the best time to build an employer brand was 10 years ago. The second best time is now, and now you're finding all these stories and you're sharing that. How did you come to the idea? So you saw that there's 1,000 roles. We needed to build an employer brand. There's all these stories happening. Where did you come up with the idea of doing these little videos that you've been doing with your new hires as a way of telling those stories?
So a couple of things. I did do an audit on all our channels, candidate-facing sites, career pages, social content. Really wanted to see what stories were already being told. And believe it or not, our Coupa Life Instagram, which is run by our video studios team, they were already sharing sort of life content, holidays, value-driven messaging, fun around Coupa events, our fundraising. But that wasn't being shared outside of Instagram. And and it was being shared internally. Hey, come watch. The brand voice was there, but we didn't have anyone shouting it from the rooftops. We didn't have our recruiters sharing it externally in their emails. So this was a place where we could take that wonderful, amazing content and share it externally and develop it in different places. And so it was that initial partnership where one of my meet and greets where I was meeting people, I met with the Video Studios design team and like, hey, we were talking about this new hire campaign. I'm like, oh, that's funny. I've written up a strategy plan already. My intern was ready to go with it. We were going to meet with them. So it's like two brains came together and said, here we go. And so we designed the questioning around what I felt was my experience onboarding at Coupa. What was the differentiator? It is really highly structured. While we all want to get our, running into our jobs right away, there are certain pieces that we do here at Coupa that gets you better at your conversations, that helps you connect with people. And so that onboarding is really critical. And I enjoyed it immensely. I found my connections helped me get me started on this video project because the onboarding was so terrific. And I heard that consistently from people I met throughout my entire first 90 days here. That has been a very consistent message from everyone, is that they had a story to share because it's been so terrific from them on so many levels.
That's awesome. Highlighting the differentiation and using video as a way of telling that narrative, really powerful. You mentioned integrating it with the work that the recruiters were doing, which I think is a really key relationship there, because you can create employer branding and then you can have a recruitment team that are just doing their own thing. It's actually about integrating them together and making them use it effectively. How's that process been going?
We are still very much at the early stages. I have met with all the recruiting teams. I first initially met with leadership and presented my strategy plan for the year and into 2023, and great excitement. And they really wanted the leads of each of the recruiting teams to meet with the teams on an individual basis, hear what their pain points were. I met with the sourcing teams. And then what could we do? Very typically recruiters say, we're hiring, and they get a hiring post out there. And it was really showing them that, right?
That's my bugbear, that is. Yeah.
Yes, it is yours. Exactly. It reminds people of what I said to them is LinkedIn's a great place, but we don't want to be sold to when it comes to everything we do in our lives. I can imagine now that I'm going to be sold some ad if we talk about it from my phone or my computer, but it's the same thing on LinkedIn. We want to be told a story, and we want it personalized, and we want to hear the opportunities for professional development. And so LinkedIn, during COVID for me, LinkedIn was, I call it a lifeline, and I don't mean to be so dramatic, but it was a place where I could network. I was going to make this pivot. Was it the right pivot? Who do I talk to? I recorded videos about what was happening during COVID with people without benefits. I stepped into different places, and I had this network, amazing network of people to encourage me. I read blogs on Talent Brand. I connected with all of you. And that's where it is. Your voices were the steps I needed to know I was moving in the right place. So it's the same thing with recruiters. When you tell that personal story, whether it is a journey into a new place or a pivot or a success on a sales campaign, those are real and human. They make a lot more sense coming from the employees and the recruiters than it does from me on the corporate noise side. And so that is why I encourage them to keep telling different types of stories, not just we're hiring, because that's just noise and people stop paying attention. We want to hear why you're hiring. What you're going to be doing when you're there. What's the story behind it? What will you be solving? That's the stuff we want to get into versus just we're hiring and I'm a great manager,
Yeah. I'm totally with you on that. Well, I know it's very early days, but have you got any kind of results off the back of that? Maybe even just kind of positive feedback from candidates going through the process?
I don't know on the candidate side, but I can tell you on the employee side, the enthusiasm is extraordinary. Like I said, we had 100 people sign up just for the first round of videos. What has been extraordinary is that we have more teams like engineering. We want to record videos. Sales, we want to record videos. So you're starting to have people who tend to be a little bit more on the shy side, want to be out there and tell their story. And it's not just about why Coupa, also about the other things that go on at Coupa. So we have ERG stories that'll be coming out. We also have this amazing value-driven and lived organization. And I think we live and breathe it. And it's not meant to sound like everything's rosy. But there is this true idea that there's bias for action here that comes from our values. And so when we want to solve something, you find a solution and you move forward. I have come from the most heavily matrix organizations, and to get anything to move forward took, the earth to rotate on a different axis. While that's not being said that things aren't difficult, it's just amazing the people who will step in to help you solve a problem that's moving forward. And so that's the same here with Talent Brand. There are people coming forward with great ideas, and our recruiters have great ideas. I've met with them. I'm adding those into my strategy plans because they're out there living and breathing this idea, getting people into the pipeline. I need to live and breathe that too. And so their ideas are part of it. It's not just my ideas.
That's wonderful. And it sounds like one of those unintended consequences of doing this kind of work is that it's actually fun. It's people enjoy it. People like talking about their work and shining a light on the things that they're working on and the challenges that they're overcoming. It's not just a piece of work that you have to get done. It's an enjoyable part of the whole employee experience.
I look at it as, if you have children, if you have dogs, or if you have a garden, you enjoy talking about the accomplishments, right? You've grown this amazing round of vegetables or whatever else. If you have something that truly brings you joy, it's so easy to share. When it becomes a really easy place to be where you are encouraged and delighted, that's easy to share versus tell me about yourself. This is, again, different. This is where you can see where you've moved the needle, you've accomplished something. There, this opportunity, growth opportunities. It's very different than, like I said, I come from the education side, which is the most slow-moving organizations possible. This moves fast, and it's great to be along for this ride. It's nice to see something so extraordinarily different than what I've experienced in my career.
Fantastic. I think there's so many pearls that we've distilled in that, Audrey, and maybe we'll have another conversation in 6 months to see how things may have developed in that period of time. Talking of things going fast, I realise we've already spoken for quarter of an hour. I've got some quick fire questions to finish off with. Are you happy to go through those? Yeah?
Absolutely.
Awesome. What's your tech stack that you use for your employer branding or recruitment at Coupa Software?
So our ATS is Lever, and we're currently using Phenom. I must confess those are both new to me, obviously, because I'm still relatively new in this space. So I'm digging into Phenom right now. We use that for our career site. So we are in the process of redesigning our current career site. I'm really excited about flipping it to a more candidate experience and improving time on page, obviously filling those applications and roles. So that's where I'm digging in. Newsletters, lots of things in our pipeline, and hope to have those out by the end of the year.
Awesome. And what technology are you using to capture your stories at the moment?
So we have an internal group, Coupa Video Studios. So they handle all the technology piece for me. I help recruit the people who are going to help tell the stories, and they do that all for me. I have a complete group, the most amazing group. I have to give them kudos. I can't wait till they listen. They are well deserved. All those videos you see are done by the Coupa Video Studios team. They are also the team who will be redesigning our website. So I am eternally grateful to have these resources available to me.
Awesome. But you're the energy that's driving that employer branding train.
That's what they say. Yes, absolutely. I just have an amazing team who has great vision. So I love their ideas. We bounce off each other all the time. It's really, I have an extraordinary piece because I've edited enough videos in my time that I know that's not my skill set.
Well, one man band here. I do everything. So I totally feel. I'm not going to say I feel the pain. I do quite enjoy it, but it does soak up a lot of time. Definitely. Okay. What's your most recommended book for maybe a new recruiter or someone that's looking to get into employer branding?
So I'm going to instead talk about data analysis and data driven. My guy is Michael Brito. He's the EVP at Zeno Group. He's a monstrous Lakers fan for those who are basketball, but he's one of my favorite digital strategists. And he was the first person who introduced me to encouraging employees to share their stories, be storytellers and ambassadors for the brand. And he has 2 books, Participation Marketing and another one, Your Brand, the Next Media Company. I love Michael. I am a big Michael Brito fan. I had him come speak to a bunch of college students about their social media presence, particularly as they started looking for roles. So this was my early dive into employee brand when I was a social media manager. And Michael was the one who really inspired me to use audience-driven insights for content marketing. And I'm grateful for that sort of foundation he provided and the step and helped me pivot into a new role.
Fantastic. That's a great highlight. I've not come across those before. So I'll be jumping on Amazon after this and having a read through those. That sounds right up my street. It really does.
He's such a data-driven geek. You love him.
Oh, great. And last question. Who is an up-and-comer, someone in recruitment or employer branding that maybe we should be keeping an eye on for the work that they're doing, apart from yourself, Audree?
Yeah. Well, aren't you sweet? So her name is Dassel Hong. It's Dasle. I worked with Dassel at Pearson. She was, what was her role? Employee volunteering and giving manager. And I remember being inspired by her ability to stand in front of a large group of people and get them to tell stories about all the volunteering. We had volunteer hours. How were we using them? She actually encouraged me to speak publicly in a group about gun violence prevention. It was not something I was comfortable doing, standing in front of a group. She encouraged that. I've never forgotten that true gratitude, the grace that she provided to me to stand in a space that can be difficult to talk about. She's now in the employer brand space, and I am so excited to watch her journey. I kind of feel like she was the true advocate for community building very early on, and she's going to do amazing things. So definitely one where she started in it before it was a thing, and now she's truly in that space. I cannot wait to watch her journey.
That's a great recommendation, and that's someone we can all go and have a look at and see the work that they're doing in the space now. Audree, I'm sure there's people out there that are just starting their employer branding journey. There may be companies that are recruiting that need something done. They need to go from 0 to 1. What's the best way for them to reach out to you or follow the work that you're doing at Coupa Software?
So on my LinkedIn is the best place to connect. I must confess, I probably share a lot more leadership and mental wellness content because it's kind of my jam. And it's allowed me to get through our couple of years of pandemic. But LinkedIn is definitely the place to start. Coupa Software, you'll start seeing LinkedIn content growing there around our brand. Our life pages will be coming to formation there. We have one we just launched 3 weeks ago. I'll be announcing our career page. I cannot wait to share that with all of you. So definitely LinkedIn's the place.
Awesome. What we'll do is we'll put the links to that in the show notes and on YouTube, so that people that want to follow can jump on there and see the work that you're doing at Coupa Software. But Audree, it's been fantastic to see the work that you've been doing on LinkedIn and to follow that journey through. And today you've just dropped so many little ideas. I think we'll get everybody hopefully started on this and talking to their team and creating videos to start kind of fleshing out those stories apart, and move away from this I'm hiring kind of mentality. It's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much for your time.
And thank you. Talk to you soon.
Will do, Audrey. Thank you.